Okay, so let's talk about the wrap up. So this is the wrap up of Chainsaw Man Part 1. This is the beginning of the series. This is the beginning of everything. And I'm curious to know what Fujimoto's overall plan is going to be. Like, what he wants to do with the series. Because, as I've said, I knew that there was stuff to work with. The question was whether or not he was going to end it where, like, at that point. And everyone was going more off of, like, the idea of, like, he does short, like, Fire Punch was a shorter series, but I think Fire Punch was monthly. I don't remember, because I don't think it was weekly, and he didn't have the opportunity, I'd say, the same way with Fire Punch as, like, Chainsaw Man, because Chainsaw Man is doing really well, and that's not even, like, with an anime trailer. Like, it just got an anime announcement from Mappa, so, like, that's already going to be really big. Chainsaw Man is in a good position right now, just to get, like, on the rise of success. So I think that the fandom itself is in a pretty strong spot, and the series itself is in a pretty strong spot. So where things go from here is all up to Fujimoto, and we already know that there's a whole world to still explore. That even, like, the ideas of, like, what we know exists that we just haven't seen yet is, you know, the primordial devils. There's still a lot out there, because we know the gun devil doesn't compare to them, and the control devil, you know, Makima, was very powerful, but we never got anything that would indicate, like, that Makima was more powerful than a primal devil. We saw Makima contend with one, like, just kind of scuffle with one for a brief moment, but we never saw, like, a full kind of comparison of what Makima's like. And from what we saw, the thing about Makima isn't that Makima was outright, like, in base powerful. It was more of, like, Makima was smart, very prepared, and very tactile, kind of like Aizen from Bleach, where, like, there are characters that have higher outright power level kind of stuff with them over her, but it's like the amount of, like, people that, like, she had under her, the amount of collective ability she had, it was just that kind of lump sum of different things that made her very dangerous. And I liked Makima. I think she's a really interesting villain. I was hyped up to see her just active in general, and I like this weird twist that Fujimoto's done. So essentially, in this chapter, because Denji decided to eat Makima, and I guess, like, what happened, it was the difference of how it went down. It kind of, like, messed with her contract, so she wasn't able to get, you know, the one-up life kind of that she had with the Prime Minister setup, because she's not erased, because that was one of the things. Like, Denji doesn't have full power over the chainsaw. We know that. He doesn't have the full extent of the Chainsaw Man. So it makes sense of why, even though he ate her, like, he was able to, like, do something to her, but it wasn't like he erased her memory, like, people's memory of her or everything. But it's so weird, because, like, Denji has, like, his own place now. He's just kind of, like, off on his own, and he's, like, got all this Makima food, but he meets up with Kishibe, and Kishibe's thing is he brings her, like, he brings Denji essentially a new Control Devil, because in China the Control Devil was reborn, and it's not Makima anymore. It's kind of like Power, like how the named versions of them are how they are after they've taken over a body, because when it comes to the devils themselves are essentially the physical embodiment of whatever, like, the concept of whatever that fear is. And that means that even if one of them dies, as long as somebody fears that thing, then it'll come back, because it'll just reform. That's the whole reason why, you know, if the chainsaw eats them, they can erase their name. So that's the only way to essentially erase one of them, erase a memory of them, so people can't fear them anymore and recreate them. But when it comes to Makima, like, she's back. It's just the Control Devil, though. It's a blank slate. It's the Control Devil in concept, but not like all the extra information that made Makima. And that's why Kishibe's gonna leave this new character to Denji, because he fears that if she goes to the government again, the Japanese government is gonna turn her. Essentially, she'll just become Makima again. So now, like, he's going to have, like, this, younger Control Devil as like his sidekick, I'm guessing, going forward. Like that's a really interesting one, and she seems nicer. Like I'm wondering like how old she's supposed to be, because she seems like just kind of like that, probably like kindergarten age. So Denji's gonna have this super barely able to kind of operate sidekick. I think it'll be really weird, because that means Denji's gonna have to be the older, more mature one in scenarios, and that's the kind of thing with her being so young that it's going to be really weird to see as Denji have that position, have that role of having to take care of her. But after that point, like, we have Denji and Pochita. Like, I know some of like the comments earlier, like there's a theory of Denji, like how he beat Makima, and like the difference is he didn't want to kill her, and like him eating her, and like the only part of that was really noteworthy, because I don't want to really care about the comments of like, oh, and he like, oh, Makima didn't come back, but like after I ate her like in the toilet or whatever. Like, I don't need to know, like, talk about that stuff. We already can see that. Don't need to go over that. But the part that was really interesting is he figured out Makima didn't really identify people by how they looked. It was by remembering them through smell. So what Denji did was he had like the Chainsaw Man form like outside his body, and then have like Makima go up and, you know, go after him, and then just Denji as himself go and take her out, because she wouldn't recognize him, because she didn't recognize Denji the individual. She recognized the smell on him that was the Chainsaw Man. Like, that was, I think, a really interesting way to form that out, just because it made sense, and it was the stuff that we already had in the series, like Makima's whole sense of smell, because that was something that we had way early on, like Makima talking about like how just how sharp her nose was. So I like that a lot. And then the stuff with Pochita at the end, like Pochita saying how like his dream was like just like to hug somebody, and you had that nice kind of bond with him and Denji. I thought that was just a nice thing, and it was cool to have like this monster like the Chainsaw have this very happy dream, and it makes sense of why he just got along with Denji so well. Somebody who didn't have to face that terror form with him, and didn't have that horror kind of like personification of the Chainsaw form in his brain. But now he wants Denji to fulfill the Control Devil's dreams, and it's like the Control Devil wanted to form a equal relationship with others, but only knew how to do it through power and fear. So he needs to do it this way, and he's like, you know, how are you gonna do that? He, you know, it does it through really wholesome things, like do it through lots of hugs, and he essentially means to do it through like affection, like their relationship of equality between them will be like a family relationship, because that's what Denji had with like power, you know, being this older brother almost kind of like thing with her, and that's what he's gonna have with this character Nayuta. So I think this is gonna be really fun. And we have like this outing point. It's like this giant monster, you know, this big ugly looking devil just attacking the city. People are running, and they're talking about the Chainsaw Man. And they're saying how he's a high school now, and Denji has that black delinquent coat you see in like animes and stuff. Just the way that it's kind of put. So now him in high school, I'm wondering how this is gonna all go, because it says end of part 1, the public safety arc. So what is the next portion really gonna refer to? And how this relates back to what Fujimoto like said at one point, how this was like he said the Gun Devil area was all going to be like one part of like 3 parts of Chainsaw Man. So I'm wondering if that's true now, and this is now 1/3 of the way over, because that was my initial like understanding of it. And then people said like, oh, that was never confirmed, he never said that kind of thing, and it seemed like it was, you know, Chainsaw Man was going to was going to end, and that's not the case. So I'm hyped to see where this goes. I really want to see where this all plays out. And it's like Chainsaw Man, I really like Chainsaw Man. I've made that very, very clear throughout like the time I've been reviewing it, the time I've been reading it. It's like, in terms of the world, like the kind of like real world setting, like I for one, like my favorite obviously is like fantasy magic and like wizards and stuff, but I love Chainsaw Man's just general weirdness. It's like the world that it's set in, and it's just so odd, but at the same time it's so grounded while still being so different. And I think that's really cool about like Chainsaw Man's style, that I'm really hyped to see or where this all goes, and just also generally the monster styles. I mean, I can kind of just give that like very grounded opinion and point to Fujimoto's. I love his devil designs, and I can't wait to see more primal devils when we eventually get to hell and stuff. So can't wait to see more. I obviously I'm really excited. And obviously we got that Mappa anime announcement, so I'm guessing because we got Jujutsu Kaisen's anime announcement was like at the end of 2019, and we didn't get the anime itself until like October. So we probably won't get Chainsaw Man's anime until October as well, is my guess. Sometime around fall October. It could be earlier, but I think with Mappa doing Jujutsu Kaisen, and then because like Jujutsu Kaisen is already I think like 10 or 11 episodes in. I don't know how many. I think 24 episodes is like how many they're doing. So if they're halfway through, and they just got on with this season of Attack on Titan, so I'm guessing like that they're gonna have like a little bit of a gap before we get Chainsaw Man's anime. I could be wrong, and we could get it way earlier, like the summer. But my guess is fall. Plus, I think it would fit perfectly with putting it in October, kind of like what they did with Jujutsu Kaisen, because I don't know if that's coincidence or planned, but I think having that kind of very more horror-esque series leaning into October adds like a little extra value to it. Because one of the things I think legitimately is people wanted to check out like the scarier anime like in October, the spooky month for Halloween. So we'll see. I'm pretty hyped to see how well this series does and what part 2 has planned. Like that other part 2, I think like Seven Deadly Sins of sequel is coming out next year, and I'm not as hyped for it as like a continuation for Chainsaw Man, but it's just something to consider, and I do look forward to that one as well. But Chainsaw Man's I'm very hyped for part 2. I want to know what the main cast is looking like in this as well, because as far as Aki's dead, we don't have power. We have this new character Nayuta. I'm thinking maybe Yoshida. Yoshida could be like that kind of Aki substitute, I guess, now that I think about it. But we'll see. Other than that, though, comment below, thumbs up the video, but from the like button, subscribe button, and check out my other videos. Other than that, I appreciate everyone who's already subscribed, and thank y'all for listening. Bye.